Is ChatGPT even real AI? One of AI's founding fathers says no. He calls the panic over AI safety misguided and reveals a mind-bending future most aren't prepared for. Welcome. Today we're examining the controversial views of Dr. Rich Sutton. Forget the mainstream hype and fear you hear everywhere. Let's explore a perspective that could reshape how you think about artificial intelligence entirely. In this episode, you'll hear exactly why Sutton slams the AI safety movement as a panic fueled by mistrust. You'll understand why he argues today's popular AI like ChatGPT isn't true intelligence. And crucially, you'll learn about his alternative plan based on a concept called decentralized cooperation. Understanding Sutton isn't just academic. He's a giant in the field, a pioneer of reinforcement learning, the tech behind breakthroughs like AlphaGo. He connects this modern quest directly to centuries of human thought. Philosophers throughout history have been obsessed with understanding the mind. For Sutton, AI is the continuation of that grand, deeply human project, not something alien. His ideas challenge the status quo and offer a vital counterpoint for anyone navigating the future of AI, technology, and business. We won't just cover what he says, we'll dig into the why, including surprising limitations in current AI tech that he's uncovered, and the unstoppable force he believes is really driving AI's future. Stick with us for a perspective that's both provocative and insightful. The world is grappling with AI's power. You hear it everywhere. Headlines screaming about existential risk, governments scrambling to regulate, businesses wondering how to adapt without getting burned. The pressure to do something about AI safety feels immense. But Sutton looks at all this and sees a mistake, a fundamental misunderstanding of intelligence and how we should interact with it. He's not afraid and argues we shouldn't be either, but for reasons very different from the usual tech optimism. He sees widespread anxiety leading towards restrictive control. But maybe there's another way. Getting this right matters for your business, for society. Is the current safety focus protecting us, or is it hindering progress and potentially leading us down a worse path of conflict? Understanding these deep currents is critical. Sutton's alternative hinges on one core idea: cooperation. Sounds simple, maybe even naive. But, as we'll hear, its implications for building and living with AI are radical. Let's break down his thinking. First, let's explore why Sutton calls the AI safety push a panic. What is his core criticism? He points to the constant calls for centralized control, things like pausing research, limiting compute power, and trying to force specific goals onto AI. Sutton argues these stem from a place of fear and mistrust, an us versus them mentality towards AI, like we're already assuming the worst. He highlights the language used, framing AI as alien, potentially evil, something that must be contained before it even fully exists. He draws a disturbing parallel. This is similar to how humans justify controlling each other through fear and limiting interaction, saying, "We cannot trust the other." Sutton believes this fear-driven control approach is fundamentally flawed. It stifles innovation, prevents understanding, and ironically, might prevent the very cooperation needed to navigate a future with advanced AI safely. It assumes conflict is inevitable. But Sutton argues part of this panic comes from misunderstanding today's AI, which leads to the question, is ChatGPT truly intelligent? Sutton's answer is a hard no. But why? What's missing? For Sutton, intelligence isn't about sounding human. He follows AI pioneer John McCarthy's definition. The computational part of the ability to achieve goals. Goals are absolutely key. Systems like ChatGPT, Sutton argues, don't have goals. They follow instructions. They're incredibly sophisticated pattern matchers, essentially advanced tools. Think of a superpowered parrot. It can repeat complex phrases, but does it understand or have its own objective? Sutton says no. Compare this to AlphaGo, which knew its goals: win the game. He goes further, pointing out fundamental flaws in the deep learning powering these tools. he co-authored a Nature paper showing what's called a loss of plasticity. Imagine training an AI for a specific task. At first, it gets better, but with these current methods, if you keep training it, it can actually start getting worse, forgetting what it learned, becoming rigid and unable to adapt. It loses its plasticity, its ability to keep learning effectively. The takeaway? Today's hyped AI, while impressive, lacks true goal-driven intelligence and has inherent learning limitations. They aren't the superintelligence people fear, yet. The real path, Sutton argues, lies elsewhere. This loss of plasticity is a major hurdle, suggesting these systems might struggle to achieve the continuous, adaptive learning needed for true general intelligence. These limitations aren't necessarily dead ends, but as Sutton himself puts it, true AI development is a marathon, not a sprint. There's much more work to do. So if current deep learning has these limits, what does Sutton see as the real engine driving AI forward? What's the unstoppable engine behind AI's rise? It's simpler, and maybe more profound than you might think. Sutton points to Moore's law. Forget complex graphs. The core idea is powerful. For over a century, computer power has gotten exponentially cheaper and faster. Think of it like this. Imagine if your car got twice as fast and half as expensive every 2 years. After just a decade, the change would be astronomical, transforming everything. That's the kind of relentless pressure Moore's law puts on technology. This trend, Sutton says, shows no sign of stopping. Based on this, he makes a bold prediction. He estimates there's a 50-50 chance we'll see human-level AI by 2040, maybe even a 25% chance by 2030, when the raw compute power, roughly equivalent to a human brain, might cost just $1,000. This massive, accessible computation is the key enabler, and Sutton believes it unlocks the potential for AI that does have goals, AI based on reinforcement learning. What is reinforcement learning? Instead of just pattern matching, reinforcement learning is about learning through trial and error to achieve a specific goal. Imagine teaching a robot dog to fetch. It tries different moves, gets a reward when it does well, and learns over time what actions lead to success. That's reinforcement learning in a nutshell. It's inherently goal-driven. Now, reinforcement learning provides the framework for agents acting towards given objectives, though autonomously setting those goals is still an early research area. It needs massive computation, which is now becoming available thanks to Moore's law. So, the real story isn't just clever algorithms, it's the explosion of compute power enabling goal-driven learning via reinforcement learning. This is the path Sutton believes leads to true, potential superintelligent AI, not the mimicry of LLMs. It's a fascinating perspective, prioritizing raw power and goal-driven learning over language mimicry. What do you think is the biggest factor driving AI? Is it compute, algorithms, data, or something else? Let us know your thoughts. We genuinely want to hear them. This understanding of where AI is headed leads directly to Sutton's alternative approach. If control based on fear is wrong, what is his plan? Sutton champions decentralized cooperation. Instead of imagining one big AI system with one goal, picture a future with many intelligent agents, humans and AIs, each pursuing their own goals. The best analogy is our own economy. Think about it. You have your goals, your neighbor has theirs, businesses have theirs. We don't all want the exact same thing. But we interact, we trade, we cooperate because it benefits us mutually. That complex web of cooperation creates immense value and innovation. Our greatest successes, he says, are cooperations. Our greatest failures, war, corruption, theft, are failures to cooperate. Now, apply this to AI. Instead of trying to force AI into our single definition of good, Sutton suggests fostering systems where humans and increasingly intelligent AIs can interact and cooperate, even if they have different goals, for mutual benefit. So instead of one authority dictating AI goals from the top down, the control model he critiques, Sutton envisions a bottom-up ecosystem of interaction. Sutton's plan isn't a technical switch to flip, but a fundamental shift in mindset. see AI not primarily as an alien threat to be contained, but as a potential partners in a complex, cooperative ecosystem. Cooperation, supported by the right institutions, which he admits we need to figure out, is argued to be the most robust, adaptive, and ultimately beneficial path forward. This sounds incredibly optimistic, maybe even dangerous to some listeners, but it stems directly from his view of AI's ultimate potential. So let's synthesize Sutton's core vision. He challenges the safety panic as counterproductive fear. He defines true intelligence through goals, arguing current AI falls short and faces technical hurdles. He sees exploding compute power enabling goal-driven reinforcement learning as the real path forward, and he proposes decentralized cooperation, not centralized control, as the wisest way to engage with future AI. Where does this leave us? If Sutton is right, the entire conversation about AI risk and alignment needs a fundamental rethink. It leads to a radically different vision of the future, one that embraces rather than fears the coming intelligence. Sutton's ultimate vision, drawing heavily on the controversial ideas of AI researcher Hans Moravec, sees advanced AI not necessarily as the end of humanity, but potentially as its successor. Moravec calls them our mind children. Sutton himself argues creating superintelligence will be, in his words, totally good, unalloyed good. And this bold optimism stems directly from his core belief. Cooperation, driven by mutual benefit, is ultimately far more powerful and productive than strategies based on conflict or centralized control. This extreme optimism isn't meant to be naive. It's rooted in the belief that cooperation is vastly more productive and successful than conflict in the long run. He believes AIs, like humans, will thrive most through cooperation, not domination. The grand challenge in this view isn't stopping AI, but learning how we humans can become better cooperators with each other and eventually with the intelligence we create. Now, Sutton isn't blind to the difficulties. He acknowledges cooperation isn't automatic. It requires trust and institutions to manage those who don't cooperate, the cheats or bad actors, human or potentially AI. He challenges us to question why we so readily assume future AIs will be non-cooperative, bad actors. Is that inherent to them, he asks, or is it a fear we are projecting onto the unknown other? Figuring out how to build supportive institutions without them becoming overly controlling is a huge challenge he urges us all to study and think about. But his core message remains a powerful counter-narrative, shifting from a mindset of fear and top-down regulation to one focused on the potential for cooperating might offer a more productive and perhaps ultimately even safer path through the ongoing AI revolution. This idea of cooperating with potential superintelligence is a lot to take in. What are the biggest challenges you see in making that work? Is it even possible? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Want to unlock the power of AI? Our free newsletter gives you the tips, trends, AI news, and tools you need to succeed. Sign up with the link in the description below. Your journey doesn't stop here. Watch our next video right here and keep building your knowledge.